Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tea Talk Live. I know I've been gone. We'll talk about where I've been and what I've been doing later, but I felt like it was time to come back. And as I've told a lot of people, I feel like right after Labor Day is kind of like my New Year's because it's kind of once summer is over and the kids are back in school, you are full speed ahead. And even though I know a lot of us some people still have kids at home, a lot of us still have kids, hybrid, going a couple days a week, whatever it is, the kids are in school, which is also a great thing. And so for me, it's like New Year's, because it's like, okay, no longer am I just chilling. Now I have to be up making breakfast, alert, and all that. So I felt like it was the perfect time to bring Tea Talk back. You guys know I love talking with you. I love bringing you amazing topics. And so today's guest, Crystal, is no stranger to the show. She has been here several times, and we've talked about some crazy topics. But she has been doing this amazing series on really just unpacking some of the things that happen in your childhood. And I'm gonna let her introduce herself in a minute, but I want to let you guys know really how I came to be like, this is the topic we need to talk about. So what happened is, you guys know in California, there was just a vote that just happened for the recall. And, I stay on top of that because, this politics has gotten me like crazy. Like, I feel like I was going crazy. And so I'm like, Larry Elder, why do I know his name? Couldn't figure out why I knew his name. So I started doing a little bit of research. And the things that I found was very disturbing. He runs a radio talk show in California. He did a documentary called Uncle Tom. And initially I was like, okay, it's a play on words because he's basically saying that, the Black community does not like Black liberal. Like we don't like Black Republicans. We don't like Blacks who are speaking out against being a Democrat or really kind of being like, some things weren't wrong. So I was like, okay, that could really be what it is. But then when he said there needed to be reparations for the slave owners. Yeah, the slave owners. I need y'all to hear me when I say this. Reparations for slave owners. I had to take a deeper look, and I said, that Uncle Tom is not a play on words. He hates himself. I said, either he's a get out situation that people kept laughing. I said, or something has happened in his past that he has never unpacked, and he hates himself and anybody who looks like him. He's a Black man, and it was just obvious. Like if you listen to any of his clips or any of that, you will definitely draw the same conclusion. So Crystal has been doing a lot of this, really unpacking, things that happen in your past and how it's affecting your future. And for a lot of us, it has us stuck because we don't know what to do. We can't move forward. So Crystal, introduce yourself and then let's get started.
Yes, so I am Crystal Currie. I am a trauma-focused clinical mental health therapist in North Carolina, and I help adults heal from childhood experiences. That is my jam.
Listen, y'all. So listen, if y'all not following her, follow her. I'm telling you, like she has been dropping some knowledge, some tips that make you stop and think like, is that why I've been doing this? And it goes back to the whole thing for me where, mental health and speaking to therapists has been so taboo in our community. And I feel like now we're embracing it a little bit more as I tell people, find a counselor looks like you. Because sometimes that's what you need. You feel a lot more comfortable when that person looks like you because you feel like maybe they can understand some of what I am talking about. Yeah. So Crystal, listen, Larry Elder, he needs help. So, like I said, so I want you to unpack just the first statement that he feels like slave owners need reparations.
Yeah. So, a lot of times, and when you were talking about it, I was like, goodness, So what we do sometimes as adults is we try to do things to identify with the people that we feel are most important, right? Because somewhere along our life, we learned that who we are authentically is not enough. And so we have to perform or become what people want from us. And so for him to say that he desired slave owners to be rewarded for their treatment of Black people says to me that he believes that they were in the right and he needs to connect with them because their opinion, their perception of him is very valuable to him.
Mm,
And so,
mm,
because of that, he has to disconnect from who he was created to be
mm.
authentically and become what he believes they want him to be.
Listen, I,
Mhm.
I don't even, I'm telling you, like, I read it and I listened
Mhm.
to him.
It's
And I kept
crazy.
saying, I need to hear him say this. I don't want to
Yeah,
read it. And he said it, and I was like, oh, okay, okay.
that's
But
it.
I want to talk about being authentically you.
Ooh.
Gabrielle Union has a new book that just came out. And it's a,
Yeah.
her first book was We Need More Wine. Now she's like,
Mhm.
We Need Stronger. I think what happened is when she released the first book, she gave us a glimpse, a little peek inside. And she was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if people are ready to really receive me. And she
Yeah.
waited until now she's like, even bigger. Not that she wasn't a big star before, but now she's even bigger. And so this book
Yeah.
now really unpacks some things that a lot of people didn't know. I was trying to go
Right.
to her book signing. Unfortunately, the one here in Philly was virtual, and I was like, "Yeah, I can't go to the book
Mm.
signing." I know, yeah, but I listened to clips of her talking about it in New York, and she unpacked that, and that's one of the
Mhm.
things that she talked about. She talked about also how, and I think not even just Gabrielle Union, I feel like a lot of Blacks can relate to this, kind of feeling like they have to be one person in this environment and another person in another environment. And
Mhm.
I had a lady who talked about that had been her experience. She was like the first child in her family to go to college. And she got into a really great college and was all white. She's like, everybody she hung with was white, but she was from the hood. And she had
Yeah.
to, when she got to her front door, be somebody different and unpack that. And so she talked
Yeah.
about how it wasn't until she was like mid 30s that she realized, you know what, I can't keep doing this because it's hard.
Yeah.
And
It
so I'm just
is.
wondering, like at what point will Larry Elder say, you know what, I need to unpack some things that happened to me in my past and realize that I've been saying some real foolish things and how can I get back?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if that will ever happen because for you to be able to do some self inspection, look inside of yourself, it takes a high level of emotional intelligence,
Mm,
right? Because you have to accept responsibility that what you've done, what you've communicated is completely separate from who you really are, right?
mm,
And emotionally unintelligent people are unable to take responsibility for anything, right? They
mm.
point the blame, right? And
Okay.
they're not able to look at themselves and be like, okay, I was wrong, because it is their survival, it is instinct for them to perform in a way that is pleasing to those who they value, right? And
Mm,
anything that separates them from the people that they value, they feel like they will die if they do anything, right? Because they've learned that who I present myself to be, who I turn myself into, is more valuable than who I am authentically. So if I have to be my authentic self, I can't do that because that means that these people who I value, they're not going to value me anymore and I'll be
mm.
worthless. Mhm.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot. That's a lot.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
just thinking about what I've seen of him, and not even
Yeah.
just necessarily him, but I feel like, a lot of us are probably in a stuck place, and I told you earlier, I was
Yeah.
figuring out what my next moves need to be, and I was feeling stuck. You deal with that imposter
Mhm.
syndrome and
Mhm.
wanting to be who you are, but not really sure how to be who you are. So I like how you
Yeah.
talked about emotional intelligence. Now,
Mhm.
how does one get in touch with their emotional intelligence? Like, how does that even start?
Yeah, it's really honestly acknowledging that some of you is fake,
Mm,
right?
mm.
That
And it's not
you're
just the hair,
really
like it's
it's
some of
it's
you. Like,
not just it's not the headband wig, Some of you is fake, and
mm,
you're putting on.
mm,
And so what happens honestly when we turn into the person that we think people want from us, they meet the needs of the person we're representing. Right? They
okay.
meet the needs of our representative. So who we authentically are is starved for what it really needs, right? And
Mm,
that's why you can be all of this and be excited and be around your friends. And then when you go home, you're exhausted and lonely
mm, mm.
because your friends have been a friend to the person that you're faking, right?
Ooh, girl,
And
you
then
stepping
when
on
you
some
come
toes. I'm telling
and when you come home, you are the person that you are authentically, and nobody really knows you. And that's why you have so many people with so many people around them, yet they feel so lonely, right?
you.
Because I don't, as your friend, I don't know you. I just know the person that you present to me, you know? And so we have to understand that when that happens, when we're feeling lonely, when we're feeling like don't nobody know us, when we're feeling like it's so hard to ask for help because we still have to put on this facade like we're strong and we can do everything and we don't, nothing ever goes wrong with us. When that happens, we are authentically denying ourselves of what we really need. Mm-hmm.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
And it has to be draining. I mean, you know,
So draining.
right? Because how can you move forward without really just seeing who you are? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you know. And so
Yeah.
let's talk about, the topic that I said is you can't run from your past. And I think
Mm-mm.
that most of us um are doing that. I feel like,
Yeah.
people always say, when you turn 40, it becomes different. Like your eyes open and you like, nope,
Mm-mm.
nope, nope. You don't put up with a whole lot. And
Yeah.
as I told you, I'm
Right.
having a nice round birthday coming next year. And I feel like, I'm changing. Like, things that I might have been like, oh, okay. Now I'm like, I don't got time for that. So do you feel like
Yeah.
it's more an age maturity thing where we start saying, okay, I can't run from what used to be. Let me look at it and unpack it. Or do you think it's really
Yeah.
just about us being sick and tired?
Yeah. You know what? And this is for all my Black people,
Okay,
right?
bring it.
Unfortunately, the Black community has normalized a lot of unhealthy things,
Mm,
right? And we have created a culture where being poor was cool without understanding that poverty is more traumatic than neglect,
hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's cool to yell at your kids and treat your children to be subservient so they obey without question. Like that's just what you do, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Without realizing that that's traumatic. And this is kind of the culture that we've set where you have to code switch. Like if you want to be accepted, you have to code switch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like the culture that we've created. But as you get older, you get tired of playing into the culture because it's not making you happy. It's not fulfilling you. Right. And so you're like, okay, I'm at the age where I just want to do what fulfills me, what makes me happy. We talk about when people get older and it's the midlife crisis. It's a midlife crisis because the life that you've lived is fake.
Mm,
You've done
mm.
everything that somebody wanted you to do, what your kids wanted you to do, what your spouse wanted you to do, saying, let me just get to this point and then I'll take care of myself. And now when it's time to take care of yourself, you don't even know yourself because you've been faking for so long.
Wow. That's a lot. Let me just wait, y'all. I need for y'all to really just understand that's a whole. Well, we can hang this up right now. That's a
Yeah.
whole message because it's the
Yeah.
honest to goodness truth. And
Yeah.
I feel like as women, we sit around and we talk about it, and I preach self-care to everybody I know. I encourage them to
Yeah.
listen. Even if you can't get away, you can't physically take a break. You can't
Mhm.
go away for days, hide in the bathroom, hide in the closet, do whatever you
Yeah.
put in your car and
Mhm.
listen to music. That's why we saw you people, what kind of car
Mhm.
you get at us because it needs to be able to bring you some comfort. But I
Yeah.
feel like we don't recognize the importance of that. Like that message right
Yeah.
there is so on point. And it goes back to that whole superwoman syndrome. And I keep telling people that's a myth.
Mm.
Stop trying to live up to it.
Right,
Because when you
right.
don't live up to it, you feel like a failure. And you're like,
Yes.
nobody's perfect. Superwoman
Yeah.
was a myth. Like there is no
Right.
superwoman. Like it was something made up.
Right.
And I think
Right.
until we can understand that and realize it's hard. I mean, it's
It's
definitely hard. Yes, and I
so
feel like that's
hard.
all about being fake. Like
Yeah.
you can't keep that up for so long. Like
You
after a while,
can't.
you're tired. Emotionally, you're
Yeah.
drained. And
Mhm.
at some point you want the real you to come out. And another thing
Yes.
that I've noticed is I feel like when we go through a traumatic experience, could be life threatening,
Mhm.
that's when we kind of like wake up and be like,
Mhm.
I got to do better. And sometimes that's
Right.
what the trigger moment is. So for those
Right.
people who are realizing, it's time for me to stop the switch bait and
Mhm.
really begin to live my authentic life. What is the
Yeah.
first step? Like, tell them what to do.
Yeah. So the first step is being aware. Like you really acknowledging, okay, I've been faking and I'm doing a lot of things that I don't even enjoy, you
Mm,
know? And I would
mm,
really encourage you to take account, who are you trying to please, right? Who
wow.
are you trying to keep comfortable? And why are you doing it? Are you fearful that, you'll be rejected or you'll be abandoned or that you'll be seen? Because some Black women, we're afraid to be seen and be
Mm,
known
mhm,
because people have made us feel guilty about things that we've done, or maybe we had a child out of wedlock, or we've had a divorce, or we've done some things that were unfavorable, and unchecked guilt turns into shame. So it's no longer I feel I did something bad, it turns to I am bad, so I
mm,
need to fake because I don't want you to see the bad parts of me.
mm,
Right.
mm,
So there's
mm,
so many reasons why you put on this mask. And I would encourage you to take introspection and be like, okay, why am I doing this? Right. And then say, what do I really want?
mm.
What do
Okay.
I really want to do in the day? Do I really want to sit down and watch this Disney movie with my kids? No. And you know what? You don't have to. Don't. They'll be okay, because some of us Black women parent our kids based on what we should have gotten as kids and not based
Mm,
on what our current kids need.
mm. Say
Right?
that one more time
Yeah.
because that right there, yes, yes.
Yeah. So as Black women, sometimes we parent our children based on what we needed as a child and we didn't get, and not based on what our children need. Right?
Mm,
Your kids
mm.
don't want to watch the Disney movie. You wanted your mom to sit down with you and watch the
Yes,
Disney movie.
yes,
Right?
yes.
And so really figure out like what you really need and go for it.
Got
Yeah,
it.
and
And
do it.
so here's the
Mhm.
other piece, though. I think that because some of us have been living so long in this fake space, we don't really
Mm,
know what we want.
that's so
And
true.
a lot of it becomes, that whole imposter syndrome where we see what
Mm,
Mary has and we're like, oh, well, maybe I want what Mary has. So then you start following
mhm,
and doing and emulating the same things Mary is doing.
mhm.
And then you get to a place and you're like, I don't want that. And then you go and you follow
Yeah.
that person. And so I think that also is, people, women just, and I don't even want to say women, people just don't know.
Yeah.
And then let's go back the whole piece with kids.
Mhm.
That is, I have this conversation with a lot of my friends, and I'm in all these mom groups and this and that, and all these stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, these groups for the kids. I don't need no new friends. I'm good. But what happens is, what I realize is that right there is that something they missed in their childhood that they longed for, that maybe they told
Yeah.
their parent or they didn't. Maybe their parent just
Mhm.
didn't understand because their
Mhm.
parent were also living in that same era of not knowing.
Right.
And so now
Right.
they're at this place where their kids are disobedient. And I
Mhm.
always say kids are disobedient for a reason. Like
Right.
sometimes we gotta peel back some layers, have some conversations, and figure out why and what is happening. Because, like
Yeah.
you said, you might want to sit and watch that Disney movie, but your kid might really not be interested in that. Like your kid
Don't
might be,
care.
and it's
Yes.
really about connecting with the kid and figuring out,
Yeah.
okay, well, what is it that they like, and having a
Yeah.
conversation. So I think it
Mhm.
is great, and that is something that just as, and I'm speaking as a Black woman, that we had to learn and recognize.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm gonna say this so you don't kick me off, right? So if you've been living 40 years, as faking and trying to parent your kids based off what you needed, and you've been sweeping a lot of things under the rug, and you really haven't dealt with your trauma and your past
Hmm.
experiences, and you get to a point where you're like, I just feel so stuck, I don't know what to do. And I would challenge you and say, are you stuck or are you tired?
Oh,
40
oh, that's
years
Wow. That's
40,
actually a good question. Are you
yeah.
stuck or are you tired?
Are
Okay.
you just because when you have to pretend for 4 decades, 40 years, and you are denying who you authentically are and your needs are not being met, that is exhausting. And you're
Mm-hmm.
always turning on and you're turning off and you're trying to figure out who needs what and perform and be who you think people want you to be. And it's like, okay, that is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's
I agree. I agree.
exhausting.
Yeah, it absolutely
Yeah.
is. And I feel like that if one thing I can say was great about COVID
Mhm.
is that I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people were in that awakening stage. And it was like,
Yes.
oh, like
Yeah.
I need to make some changes. And a
Yes.
lot of people were saying, "Oh, if you don't come out of COVID with 8 businesses, what we're doing?" And it became, well, why do I have to do that? Like,
Right.
why is that required? Like, stop
Yeah.
telling me what I need to do. And like I said, I feel like it became an awakening moment. Now, what
It
people did
did.
once they got out, and I do feel
Yeah.
like a lot of us, we were like, yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. Oh, I'm not doing nothing. I'm good with it. COVID, restrictions got lifted, and we were right back to doing what we said we weren't gonna do
We did.
because it is
Right.
what was expected.
Right.
Yeah.
And what happens is, our beliefs affect our thoughts and our thoughts affect our behaviors, right? So
Mhm.
oftentimes we just try to change the behavior, but we never change the belief or the thought. And that's why when stuff changes, we go back to who we used to pretend to be because nothing has really changed. Like you got to hit it at the root. You got to dig it up at the root, or nothing will ever change. And that is exactly why you can't outrun your past. You have to
Mm,
deal with it. You can sweep it
mm,
under the rug, but it's still in the house. You can
absolutely.
fake it for so long, but eventually you're going to revert back to what's familiar to you because that's just how the brain works. It doesn't always do what's healthy, it does what's familiar.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
You're right. I mean, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So to our guests who are out there watching, if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them. We will read them as we go along. And if you're watching the recording, you can also post your question, and I'll make certain that I get it to Crystal so that she can respond
Yes.
accordingly. And for those of you who are new here, I am Tamika. I don't even think I introduced myself. I was so excited to be back here with you all today. But I'm Tamika. I am the mouth of IG at Tamika Talks, thought leader at Life and Pump. And Tea Talks is really something that I started to be an organic conversation to just
Mm,
bring you information and maybe topics that are trending and things that we really should
yeah,
unpack and talk about. So today's
yeah.
topic is really you can't run from your past. And as I
Mhm.
stated when we started, Crystal has been doing these amazing talks
Oh,
through her
thank
channel. So if
you.
you're not following her, please make sure you do so. And that's what she talks about. Just really how the things that happened to us growing up as children,
Yeah.
now we are living
Mhm.
and dealing with those things that we didn't handle at that time. And that's when we talked about
Yeah.
keeping stuff under the rug. This doesn't help. You need to
Yeah.
lift that rug up, and even if you break it down little by little, please,
Right.
at this point, we understand and we recognize just the importance of our mental health and,
Yeah.
what happens when we leave it unchecked. So, Crystal,
Yeah.
what's the next step that people should be doing? So, you said we need to really kind of, you know, realize it's happening, take some steps.
Mhm.
So, what's next? What else should we be doing?
Yeah. So, sometimes we have to hold the people that mismanaged us responsible,
Mm,
right? So I know your mama did the best she can. I know your daddy was dealing with some things, but they still had a responsibility that they didn't do. Right.
mm,
And we're not blaming them because when I blame you, I hold you at fault without fully understanding why. I'm not blaming you. I'm holding you responsible. I'm taking it off of me and I'm putting it back where it belongs because parents have an obligation to their children. Children shouldn't have to go to their parents for things, right?
mm,
Emotional affection, validation, affirmation, concrete needs, food, water, shelter, they shouldn't have to do that, but some of us had to. And it's like, well, my mom was going through things she didn't know. And it's like, okay, that's true, but we still can hold her responsible. right?
Mm.
And we have to
Mm.
figure out what that looks like for you, because some of us are still talking to our parents out of obligation, not because we like them, not because we want to,
Girl.
but we just
Mm.
don't want to rock the boat, right?
Mm.
We don't want to address it. Some of us sitting at the table for Thanksgiving with the uncle that molested us don't say nothing, just
Mm.
because we don't want to rock the boat, right?
Mm.
And we have
Mm.
been taught for a long time to deny our own needs and put other people's needs in front of ours, right? And that's not right,
Yep.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot, and I think that
Mhm.
you are absolutely correct.
Mhm.
And so then let me take this a step further. How much do you feel like how I guess how what role, I guess is probably a better way to put it,
Mhm.
do you feel like the Black church plays in this? And I want to take a step back before you answer that question. Right, exactly, right. So you got me triggering, going. That wasn't even going to be my question initially, but
Ooh.
here's why I say that. If you all have not seen Respect, which is the movie about Aretha Franklin, you should
Mm.
absolutely watch it. And when you're
Mhm.
watching it, there are going to be parts of the movie that are very painful. And it's
Mm.
painful not because some of it, I mean, a lot of it I knew. There were some bits and pieces of the story that I did not know, but I want you to
Mhm.
watch it and really just think about what she was going through at that moment in time that
Mhm.
you see it. And for this particular movie, she was involved in a lot of the writing of it, right? Then
Mm.
there's another
Mhm.
documentary that's told from the perspective of the sister, right? But it's
Mhm.
crazy to watch the two and see kind of what was blocked out and
Mm.
what was really brought to light. And the sister said, she realized that a lot of the stuff that they were going through, got swept under the rug because the father was a pastor. Pastors don't do that. We
Mm.
got to respect the Black church. Things that we
Yeah.
don't talk about. That whole hierarchy, like, well, if the people in the church said it's right, it is right. And I just have to wonder, some of these things that people are dealing with, that yes, they should hold their parents responsible for. What role do you think the Black church has had in all of that?
Yeah, so honestly, a lot of the clients that I work with have grew up in church, right?
Mm,
And their struggle is, the Bible says, honor my mother and my father. Like, how do I do that when they hurt me?
mm,
They neglected me, they abandoned me. And the best way that I explain it to them is that when you look at your parent, let's use your mom, for example. Say, for instance, your mama's name is Lisa, right? The person's name is Lisa. One of her roles is being a mother, right? We're going to respect her role as a mother. We're going to honor her. We're not going to dishonor her. But Lisa, we don't like Lisa, right?
mm,
Lisa is the person that hurt you, right? So let's hold Lisa responsible, because a mother is just one thing that she is, but
mm.
her character, that's Lisa, and we don't like her, right?
Okay,
And
yeah.
then, so that's what I tell people. And then there's a scripture in the Bible in Isaiah where God specifically says, um, can a father neglect his daughter, or a mother neglect the child that she breastfed? And then God says, even if they do, I will never forget you. So that
Mm,
passage shows that God even knows that some of his children that are mothers and fathers ain't gonna do right.
right. Ain't worth
They
crap.
not they not gonna do right,
Right.
And when that happened, he's like, I'm never gonna forget you. So it understanding that God understands that some of the parents who are parents don't have the best character,
Mm,
right? He understands that he accepts the fact that we separate them. Mom, I got you. I understand. I'm never going to dishonor you. But Lisa, don't like you, and I don't want to deal with you.
got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely a really great way to put it, because I know that a lot of people struggle, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people have left the church. Because they felt
Yeah.
like, a lot of them, of course, felt like, the preacher was something that he wasn't. And I always say, he
Yeah.
is a man. Men are
Yeah.
faulty. People are
Mm-hmm.
faulty. But
Yeah.
yes, I like that, you have to look at the character of the person and not,
Right.
what you hold to be true. So I absolutely like that. I think that is great.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about, just not liking some of the people in our family. And I think that is
Yeah.
real.
Mm-hmm.
one of the things also that this just kind of sparked in my mind is I was watching this video yesterday, and it was a mom, and she was talking about how she's honoring her children different than the way her mom honored her. And
Mm-hmm,
in
mm-hmm.
honoring this, she says, I'm not going to require my children to say hello to strangers if a stranger says hello to them.
Yeah,
I need to allow
yeah.
my child, their right to be like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I just don't want to speak.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I'm already big on, you don't have to hug, because you just
Yeah.
don't know. But I think all of that goes in part with it, and realizing, because our parents always told us, you speak to adults, you
Yeah.
do this. If adult says that, you do this, And at one point, I know for me growing up, it was really like the village. Like I lived in West Philly, and if I did
Mm-hmm.
something on my block or wherever I was,
Yeah.
somebody from the neighborhood was telling my mom. And we talk
Yeah.
about how we lost that village, but I have to go back and wonder, did we really have a village where,
Yeah.
we were forcing children to do things that they should not have been doing, and not
Right.
really honoring who they were.
Yeah.
Like, how do we do that? Like, how do we still, create this village, and it be safe for, our children and our family and everybody, but still allow people to honor who they are?
Yeah. So the first village is whoever lives in your house, right? Your child has to respect and honor you first,
Okay.
right? You and your child have to have a great relationship, right? And to expect to create a village when the nuclear is not strong, like doesn't work, right?
Okay. Okay.
And so I think about it like, for example, with like I have a 4-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter, right? So I have to raise my girl and my boy differently, but this is the catch, right? In my family, me and my mom's relationship is getting better, but it's a little bit rocky. My mom doesn't have a relationship with my grandma. My grandma didn't have a relationship with her great grandma, with my great grandma. My great grandma didn't have a relationship with her her mom, right? So it would be negligent of me not to parent my daughter in a way that understands what's generationally in the bloodline,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
have to love her a little bit more, speak to her a little bit softer, validate her, affirm her, because in our generational bloodline, mothers and daughters don't do well together. They don't have the
Mm.
best relationship, right? Nothing with the moms and the boys. It's the mom and the girls. And I have to do that early because whenever we get in a tiff or have a misunderstanding, I need her to value my voice. I
Mm.
need her to honor me. I need to already have built that relationship where she doesn't feel like I'm trying to go against her, where we have a relationship that says, no, my mom, she's doing the best for me. She's trying, she just wants the best for me. And so that is what we have to do with our nuclear family, with the family in our household. You have to be honest about what's in your family's history.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
That's why I can't
Mhm.
stand when families have secrets. Like, if
Mm.
Uncle Johnny dealt with depression, say it, because
Yes.
I'm dealing with these feelings and I don't know where they come from. But if
Exactly.
I know that depression is in my family, I don't feel so crazy, right?
Mhm.
So be honest about what your family has struggled with and be intentional about planning and preparing for that. I can't ignore it and act like it's not going to happen, because it is going to happen, but I'm going to prepare for it. And
Absolutely.
I'm not paranoid. I'm on the defense, right? I'm
Mm.
preparing
Mm.
for battle,
Mhm. You're
right?
proactive. Yes.
I am proactive. Yeah.
Mhm.
hmm And then
That
once we
is.
do that, we can bring in everybody else.
Got it. Okay, so let's
Mhm.
let's talk about let's talk. These were not the questions that I initially had, but okay. So let's talk about building that relationship, because I think that is great that
Mhm.
you've understood that. You realize, you
Yeah.
know what? I gotta be the one to break this. Yeah, it's a lot on me, but I gotta be the one to
Yeah.
break this. What are the steps? Like, how do you even get started? And let's just say that maybe, my child is now 20. Is it
Yeah.
too late?
Yeah. Yes. There is nothing wrong with sitting your 20-year-old child down and say, okay, tell me what you don't like about me.
Mm.
What did I do wrong? What
Wow.
didn't I
Okay.
do right? Because you have to know that you weren't perfect. You weren't a perfect parent, right? But going to your child and asking those questions allows the communication to be open, because something else that we do as Black people is we act like our children can't tell us we wrong. Okay, no, you are wrong. You flicking off for no reason. Okay, they forgot to take the meat out. You should have took it out. Okay, you want it out, you take the meat out.
You about to get some hate mail, honey.
I am. But it's like, come on, right? Like, what hill are we really gonna die on? What are we really communicating? Just say you're disappointed because now you're inconvenienced that you have to find something else to cook. That's really what you need to communicate, right? Not that they didn't take it out, you just feel inconvenienced. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, ask them, like, what did I do? Like, what didn't you like? Like, where did I miss the mark? And they'll communicate it to you, and they'll let you know. And just be better. Apologize. Say, I didn't know. I apologize. And what can I do to make it right? What can I do?
That's grown folk talk there. That's
grown folk.
That I feel like should be something that all parents should do. I'm about to call my daughter in here right now and have her sit down. She's gonna be like, "What is happening?" I feel like that is something that we should all do, because it's really about the topic. You can't run from your past, because the things that occurred in your past are kind of why you do what you do now. And so I think that we all want to be great parents. Nobody wants to be a bad parent, And so I think that it's important that we do that check-in. And it's funny, because a lot of people that I know, like I'm in all these little groups on Facebook, as a mom, and we talk about all these things. And they're like, "You have a teenage daughter. You don't want to kill her?" I said, "No, good God, no."
Right.
I said, no, I don't. And they're like, "Well, I don't understand." And I said, I don't, and I tell people, I don't really know what it is that I've done. I think we have a great relationship. I'll confirm if we really do have a great relationship when I call her in this room and tell her, and she did. I mean, but I like to believe that she feels open and that she can have conversations with me, because I try to create environments that make that okay. Some people might be a little too loose, but it works for us.
Right.
Yeah, and so it goes. I mean, I love that. What don't like about me?
Yes,
it might be a little hard to hear. Like, real rap. Like, it really might be a little. You might be a little shot of vodka afterwards, but I think it is. Just being honest, I think it is really a great way at the start of unpacking your past, because what she or he, what your child may not like about you, really could be the stuff that you've been faking anyway.
Talk about it.
I mean, that's even more reason for you to, get in touch with you, see who you are, honor yourself, stop living, and become authentic.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
That's so good.
Look how we brought that full circle.
Yes. And you know what? I would, if you were to talk to your children, I would be very surprised if they said something that somebody hasn't already told you. You're a little controlling. This is not the first time you heard somebody call you controlling.
No one's ever said that to me.
So it's like, and their children are human beings too. They feel too, and it's a great, especially with your daughter being her age, she say something that she don't like about you, and you be like, I remember that day. That was a hard day for me, and let me tell you why. Let me bring you into how your mom thinks and feels, and how things affect me, because I'm human too.
You're right. Because oftentimes, let's take it back to what our topic is. We are living this facade, and it gets rough. And the people that we feel most comfortable with are the ones who often take the brunt of all of it. Because you'll only be a fake person but for so long, because then you're tired. Like, you can you're tired. And so in that moment, something happens, and then you talk to somebody, and if it's that person that you're comfortable with, they get what other people should have got. And it's not okay. And so I think that whole checking in with your village and your kids is extremely important. I just have to wonder, like, if I could even have that conversation, like, with my sisters. And I feel like, and it's interesting that I would say that, because I feel like we have a great relationship.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But there are things, of course, that I don't like.
Right.
And I don't know that, I don't want to say I'm scared because I can totally beat them.
Yeah.
Um, or if I feel like it is the wrong thing to do, to be like, I don't like
Mm,
that you did X, Y, Z.
yeah.
And I feel like, and
Mm-hmm,
whereas I feel like I could go to my mother and be
mm-hmm.
like, Mom, I didn't like blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if
Yeah.
it's because just now, as I'm older, we have that kind of relationship. Growing up, I would have never said anything
Yeah.
like this to my
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I wrote lots of notes and stuff about her that I threw in the trash. I hope I threw them in the trash. But I feel like as an adult, we have a much better relationship. Like, we're friends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
friends, I feel like I can say to her some things that I would say to my friends.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Yeah.
that part is different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's interesting. I'm actually gonna see if my mom wants to have that conversation. She might
That'll
be
be
like,
so
"Girl, get out my face."
good. That'll be so good. And you know
I'll keep
what?
you posted because she might be like, you better stop talking to that girl. I'm not doing that.
Right. But you know what? There are some people watching and they're going to see this and they're not going to feel comfortable having this conversation
Mhm.
because it will force them to deal with things that they're still trying to keep
That's secret.
dug down,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, for example, if your child says, Mom, I think you smothered me. I think you were very controlling of me. What mom really wants to say is, I didn't want you to get sexually molested like me.
Yes. Ooh, girl.
But how
Yes.
do you say that when you've never talked about it and you
Mhm.
still have to see the person that
Every
molested you?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So even like we parent, like we love our kids, but
Mhm.
we also parent with our mindset, right? And our minds may have a lot of trauma in it,
Mm.
right? Like I know my mother was a controlling mother, mine, because she was trying to shelter me and keep me from what she experienced in
Mm.
life,
Okay.
right? But it backfired, right? And she never told me I had to figure it out,
Okay.
you know? But because we parent with our mindset, we impose our fears, we project our thoughts and our views on the world on our kids, and they don't always understand. But we
Mm.
can't have a discussion about it because it will force us to address what we've been trying to hide and run from all of our life.
Mm. Mm. Here we go, people. Like we said, you cannot run from the past. It is just
Yeah.
crazy. Just the things that happen and how it is a reflection oftentimes of something that you experienced in your past, and that is
Mhm.
what caused your reaction or caused you to
Yeah.
be, where you are now in this moment. And what we're encouraging you to do, everybody, not
Mhm.
just, anybody who feels like they might have an issue, is really just sit and examine and just think about, the next time something happens, and maybe you get like a little inkling, like, what?
Yeah.
Maybe sit and think about why you did it. Like, why
Mm.
was that my reaction? And what could have
Mhm.
been a different reaction?
Mm.
Crystal gave you some steps and she talked about, really that emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
And all of us don't have it. Like, she went to
Mhm.
school, and she read some books. And then she started putting I'm telling you, you started reading and you started thinking back like,
Mhm. Mhm.
this is familiar to me. You put it
Yeah.
all together, and that's why you're so great at what you do,
Mhm.
because you've been
Mhm.
unpacking your past,
Mhm.
dealing with it. And one
Yeah.
of the things that I saw that you talked about was like talking to a parent who really don't want to own it and don't want to acknowledge that what happened happened.
Yeah. Listen, I think for a person who has been rejected or abandoned by their parents or mismanaged by their parents, the most hurtful thing is for you to try to communicate with them and they invalidate your experience. So hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk to your kids, remember to validate their experience,
Mm-hmm. No
right?
matter how it hurts, you're right.
No matter how it hurts,
You're
because it's
right.
their experience, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I always talk to people when we're talking and we're working through, you know, forgiving my parents. And I have to remind them that forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean a rebuilding of trust. It simply means that you're doing the work you need to do so that it is no longer emotionally impacting you. you know.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
sometimes we have to love Lisa, but where she is,
Yes.
right?
Oh my God.
We have to love her where she is, and that's okay, you
Mhm.
know. And maybe one day Lisa will determine that she wants to be better, but that's up to her because just like Elder in California, it may work for her.
Mm.
And
Mm.
she has decided that it's going to be too hurtful for me to be my authentic self and to heal. So let me continue to be this representative.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, and I think, all of us
Mhm.
probably at some point feel like, you know what, it's safer for me to continue this path
Yeah.
than to really make a detour and do what I should.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oftentimes the safe road seems quicker, but it's not.
Mhm.
I feel
Mhm.
like we go down that safe road and at some point it cycles back to us.
It
And
does.
whether or
It
not we choose to
does.
unpack it at that moment or go to take a detour is up to us, but we're still dealing with it.
Mhm.
And I think that that is where those generational chains come in because it's like, well, you didn't deal with it and you
Yes.
should have. So now the next generation is going to get it. And if they don't deal with it, it's just going to keep cycling and cycling and cycling and cycling. And it is really up
Yeah.
to just take a moment and say, let me see how
Yeah.
I act this.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Some as a first generation of a lot of things, it's not fun being the first generation
I
to have
know.
to heal, to have to go to college, to have to gain wealth, to have a healthy family. Like it's so much pressure. You know, it's so much pressure. But just like you said, like whatever you don't do, whatever you don't heal from, you recycle for your kids to deal with.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
So unfair. Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
So I know you have an amazing event happening in Charlotte.
Yes.
Please tell the people. Now, wait, is it going to have a virtual component or is it all at face to face?
No, it's face to face. I will have a virtual component later down the road, but it
Okay.
is face to face. I love to be in your face. I love to hear how, well, not love to hear, but I want to hear how unfair the world has been to you, how
Mm,
unfair life has been to you, how your mama or your daddy didn't do what they were supposed to do, how they didn't protect you, how they didn't feel safe, how you had to emotionally detach yourself from your family in order to get your own needs met, how you had to move around from place to place, how as a parent you parent out of fear because you really don't know what you're doing because you have no role models or no one to depend on.
mm,
Like I want to hear all of that,
mm.
and I want to help guide you through it. And it's called the Healing the Inner Child Retreat. And it's at an amazing resort called the Valentine. And we're gonna eat good and we're gonna heal. It is so intensive, but I am like a generational trauma sharpshooter,
Okay.
like I am going to deal with all of the traumatic experiences that you have had. Doesn't matter how big, doesn't matter how small. If it's important to you, it's important to me.
Oh,
And
I
we're going
love
to
it.
deal with it because you deserve to have happiness without
Mm.
fear that something's going to come around the corner and you're going to have to start all over again.
Wow, that's powerful. That is powerful.
Yeah.
So I anticipate a lot of breakthroughs. I do. Just hearing
Yeah.
you talk, I'm sure people out
Mhm.
there are like, I need to go to that. I mean, no, really,
Yeah.
really, because I
Mhm.
do think that um, it's rare that somebody has an opportunity to really sit and
Mm.
unpack in a safe environment. The key
Oh
word is safe.
yeah.
And not
Yeah.
feel like they're going to be judged. And
Yes.
this is part of the reason why I encourage people to go to counseling because I
Mhm.
said this person don't know you.
Right.
That they're not your mama, they're not your daddy, they're not your cousin.
Right.
They
Right.
they are creating an environment for you that is safe. They want the
Right.
best for you.
Yeah.
Mentally, not knowing your story, where it's come from, they're not judging you. You can go in there, and that is the first step to unpacking
Yeah.
who you are and really
Mhm.
who you can be because our past
Right.
holds us back. We're like,
Yes.
such and such didn't succeed. Well, why would I succeed?
Mhm.
And like
Mhm.
you said, you
Mhm.
are the first generation. And I feel like, just being the first generation, and I'm not the first generation,
Mhm.
but I feel
Mhm.
like being in whatever generation you're in, it is definitely a lot of stress because you're like, let's just didn't do it. I shouldn't do it either. No one's gonna listen to me. Well, why should I do that? Well, maybe it's
Yeah.
okay. And you start in your mind thinking maybe it's okay because you say, well, Johnny, he all right. Meanwhile, Johnny ain't all right.
Yeah.
Let's not talk
Yeah.
about it. And so
Yeah.
these are the type of things that I want us as family to talk about at Thanksgiving. So for me, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2013, I did this genetic testing, and part of the genetic testing is really having conversations with your family and knowing, how did
Mm,
this person die? How did that person die?
that's so
And so it was
good.
so crazy to me, when I'm having these conversations with people, and some people didn't know how this person died or didn't know how this person was related to us. And then I find out little bits and pieces. I get a conversation from this person, a conversation from that person, and I put together like, oh, well, this person had cancer, or this person
Yeah.
like this, and they're like, oh, they did. And it goes back to the secrets and the things that we don't talk about. No matter
Yeah.
what it is, we can't be successful in the future if we don't
Right.
unpack the past. We just have to. Like, I just feel like it is about the cycle of life.
Right.
And it's what you want to know. And so for me, doing that and really talking to my family about it, and people know I am like, every month I'm like, did you touch your breast?
Yeah.
Who died in your
Yeah.
family? Breast and what was wrong with her? And then they be like,
Yeah.
girl, she cancer. Like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I
Mm-hmm.
think these are the things that we just don't unpack and we're not talking about enough. So then that's why
Right.
we're having these things happen to us and we're blindsided. Like, wow, where did it come
Yeah.
from? No, it's been in your family line forever, but no
Yes.
one is talking about it. And
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's so true. Yeah. I'm so glad you do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ain't nobody trying to be nosy. I'm trying to know what I need to
right.
fight.
Exactly. Like, what is the deal? Like, what happened? I need to break it all down. And so, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I just think it's important. And,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it goes back to, when the elders used to be like, get out of grown folk business. No, we need to be in grown folk business
We
because
do.
there's way too many things out there that we just don't know
Too
that we need
many.
to know. And it goes
Yeah.
back to, protecting us from our future. So wait, we have a comment. Sai is saying, when we were talking about sitting down with our children,
Mm-hmm.
being mature enough to apologize to our children when they share what they say, what we could have done differently.
Oh, that's so good.
That is, yeah. And I don't know how many people really can deal with that. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's and I don't feel like people aren't mature enough to apologize. I
Mm-hmm.
think where the even more maturity comes in at is owning it.
Yeah.
Like, not trying to explain it away, but allowing that
Yeah.
kid to feel how they're feeling in that moment and deal with it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Deal with it.
it's a lot. It's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Absolutely a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we are almost to an hour, and you guys know that I like to be mindful of everyone's time because I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
you being here. Crystal, don't worry. I told her that I gotta keep an eye on her because she is doing some amazing things, and I am
Oh, you're
loving it,
so
loving it,
sweet.
loving it.
So
So I
sweet.
want to remind you guys, if you're not following her on social media,
Mm-hmm.
please do so.
Wait.
If you are, yes, that's it. If you are in the Charlotte area, or quite frankly, I'm all about a trip. Hop on a plane, and maybe you
Hop
want to
on the
go
plane.
to Charlotte and participate
Mm-hmm.
in this retreat that she's doing. Where can they get the information?
Yeah, it's on you can go to crystalcurrie.com, or you can go to my Instagram and hit the link, and you'll see the Healing the Inner Child retreat, and you'll get more explanation about what it is, who should come. So if you're like people pleasing, if people ever tell you, you're so organized, you're so accommodating, you're so understanding, you're so resilient, you're so calm in crisis. Like, if people ever say stuff like that to you and celebrate you, come on and come. Just come on and register.
Look at that, y'all. All right, sound like we all need a road trip, right? But definitely check it out. And like we said, we want the best for all of us.
Yeah.
And we can't get the best if we don't examine and look at the things that may be causing us to struggle. So that's really what this talk is about today, because you can't run from your past. But guys, thanks again for joining us. Don't forget to check out Crystal. And I'll be back with you guys next week because it's on. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.